closing the sessions, because I think we have a time for the breakout session. We need to start off. So let me just quickly summarize the conference, and then we come back to this discussion in a few minutes. So let me just quickly share the screen. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah. All right. So yeah, well, thank you very much, everyone, for very, very exciting discussions and the comments and all the presentations. I just want to do a very brief summary so that we are actually on the same page and we want to move on to the next step. So what I want to do is a quick overview of what I think, what this community is and what we achieved in the last 2.5 days. So let me just start with the objectives. We started with the questions on how, what is the embodied intelligence, how we can define it, how we can characterize it. And this was the underlying themes of this conference in the last 3 years. And we want to somehow develop the consensus and the foundation of discussions. And then hopefully this will lead to our next step collaborations through many different channels, different activities. And this is a main objective of this conference. And I just want to go through quick summaries of what we have discussed in the past. So this is a summary that I presented 2 years ago, EI 2021. And if you missed it or if you're interested, you can still find this recording, some of the recordings in embodiedintelligence.org website. So please do have a look at it. But at that time, we discussed basically what is the embodied intelligence, and the body shapes the brain, consciousness, self-awareness, prediction, adaptation, optimization. So basically, this is something we are discussing here as well. And this is obviously still ongoing discussions, and somehow we need to focus on these questions in this community. And then there are lots of interesting discussions, such as, what's wrong with deep learning. Deep learning is too narrow. It's deep, but it's not wide enough. Some people say, the complexity in the physical body is not enough, and generating emergent simple mechanisms is still a big challenge. But still, this is the main topic of embodied intelligence. We also have a discussion of social interactions, imitations, anthropomorphism of intelligence, and this is still a topic, very centered around today's discussion. And then we have a lot of open challenges, theories of embodied intelligence, whether free energy principles is a good theoretical model, or is there anything else? And there are lots of discussion about soft robotics and material level intelligence, self-organization, self-repair, self-learning, and the self-X in general, and the growing development, evolving robot morphologies, and so on. So this was a kind of starting point of this conference, Embodied Intelligence 2021. And I think this still continued discussion. And so it made sense to meet this once a year and discuss all these different topics every year. And then in the last year, we had actually quite interesting focus about the discussion on brain or no brain. So the presentations looked at the animal intelligence versus the plant intelligence. Obviously, plants don't have brains, but the plants are still intelligent. Whether brain is important, or do we need brain, or if so, when and why, is actually quite interesting questions. And then brain as a prediction machine, right? So this is another aspect we want to look at it. And the brain has many different aspects: old brains, new brains, many layers, functions. No single theory or model to explain all, and that's another stimulating discussion last year. And two aspects of the brain: the motor learning and sensing of agents, sense of agencies and sense of ownership. This is exactly what we discussed a few minutes ago. And that's still ongoing discussion. This is good to see what's actually going on. And then again, the theories of embodied intelligence. So there are many theories introduced last year: mental simulation, contextual influence, physical reservoir computing. These are potential additional theories that we discussed last year. And then again, there was a discussion about mechanical side of AI. What is the difference between embodied artificial intelligence or embodied intelligence? And this is a part of the discussion that Matei talked about a few hours ago. And then also there's a discussion about languages and social interactions. And again, this was another topic that's coming back over and over again. Okay, then coming back to this year, I'm still in the process of digesting last 2.5 days. And well, first of all, we have over 100 talks in 2.5 days, and that was really, really exciting to see all of these opinions and perspectives. And thank you very much all for wonderful contributions to this year conference. And the topics that we discuss are centered around largely two separate issues. One of the modeling of embodiment and how we can model embodiment. There are lots of soft robotics discussion, soft robotics modeling, which is not a trivial problems. And I think this is one of the attempts and efforts to build up some models of embodiment. And one of the discussions we had is the one equation of embodiment. What can we model, what we cannot model? And Josh Barnard also pointed out dark matters in embodiment, dark matters in astrophysics. I think the implication is that probably we just don't see so many things still in the study of embodiment. And what I didn't see before Kirsten's talk today was embodiment as a structural coupling. I think this is a very interesting concept, how we can treat this embodiment as a theory for the social human-robot interactions. And then we come back to this question of a consciousness, intelligence, agency via embodiment. So this was actually another big thing I learned from annual SAS talk. About the consciousness and intelligence are two different things, but overlapping concepts through embodiment. And not all the consciousness, or not all the intelligence require consciousness, but there are some intelligence, some aspects of intelligence that certainly require consciousness. So this will naturally leads to this question of kinds of intelligence. There's no one type of intelligence, but many different kinds of intelligence, and that's another interesting. And Matei also pointed out this interesting question: is embodied intelligence different from embodied artificial intelligence? Another interesting discussion earlier in this conference is that is ChatGPT embodied or not? And it's not trivial to say, if ChatGPT is disembodied or embodied. I think it's not really easy to say that. Another one important discussion we had in the last 2.5 days is something about the fast and slow processing. So this was originally started as a discussion by Ingmar Posner about the slow and fast thinking metaphor, system 1, system 2 processes. And we see this different timescale processes in different talks. And obviously the biohybrid is one of the most popular topics we discussed in this year conference, and cultural cell, artificial organs, xenobots, and bioelectronics. Naturally artificial and natural systems, they have both fast and slow aspects, and that's one aspect of it. We also have many different hybrid systems, neuromorphic, event-driven electronics, human-robot collaboration interactions. These are, again, processes in different timescales. And then we have all sort of different parallel processes, learning of oracles, instinct reasoning, morphological computation versus information computation, learning, growth, and evolution, active inference versus error minimization. And today we have a very interesting talk by Jan Peters about inductive biases in imitation learning, how you can prioritize what to learn and what not to learn. And these are the kind of aspects we could have a look at in more details in the future. So the conference started with our recent papers about on the timescales and embodied intelligence. So this is just one thing I want to add at the end of today's summary, that what's different between embodied artificial intelligence and embodied intelligence is we're looking at all different aspects of embodiment, starting from brain to genomes to muscles, sensors, the growth and evolution, and so on. These are all different time scales and on all different scales. That is related to fast and slow processes. And I just want to highlight that so many people can be somehow associated with this idea of time scales of embodiment. And that's one interesting way to look at how embodied intelligence can be systematically studied. And what I was particularly interested in was in how we can think about the cross timescale interaction. So this was actually a concept we introduced in this article here. And we know that the many different timescales exist in our embodiment, but that somehow these timescales sometimes interact with each other, sometimes not interact with each other, or sometimes we just ignore all the timescales completely. So these are three types of timescales, and we saw this kind of phenomena in many different studies, case studies of embodied intelligence, such as a passive dynamic walker that swings the leg, matching to the walking dynamics. And sometimes you take advantage of an impact to the ground without any sense of time scales. Also, social dynamics. Sometimes time scale matching is very important in order to coordinate between agents, but also, as exemplified in the ant pheromone-based coordination, the pheromone can obviously evaporate in the environment. In that case, you can discontinue coordination and so on. So this is actually quite interesting example how we can systematically study how different kind of embodiments throughout different timescales could be another aspect we could do. But this is just one way to look at this, and this is how I'm looking at the big picture, big landscape of embodied intelligence research, but there should be many other ways to look at it. So this is just one comment I wanted to make. And finally, I just want to conclude this year Embodied Intelligence Conference with this last slide about next steps. So first of all, we will continue discussions in the breakout sessions and Discord channels, and we will also keep this main part of this Zoom conference open for the additional discussions for those who want to stay afterwards. And we will have also recorded videos published in Embodied Intelligence. Unfortunately, we couldn't process it in time this year, but we will publish it next week. And if you miss some of the talks, please do watch all this recorded videos. We will have a Robosoft workshop on embodied intelligence, and this will be in-person meetings on April 2nd in Singapore. So for those who are there, we're looking forward to meeting you all. And we're also planning to set up a follow-up proceedings of Embodied 2023. And the tentative deadline is the end of August this year. So if you learn something from this conference, and if you want to leave your thinking or concepts or discovery in a written format, please do consider publishing your thoughts and opinions in this follow-up proceeding. So we will send you more information about this process next week. And then we're also planning, or we're discussing whether we should do this again or not, right? Every year we're discussing whether we should do this again or not. This is actually very voluntary activities, and it's a lot of work to organize this conference, but we learn a lot of things at the same time. So we will send you the questionnaire afterwards, and please do let us know if you learn anything from this conference, if you want to continue or not. And we're also thinking how to organize these activities in communities in the future. So I would like to learn your opinions through this questionnaire. Okay. So without further ado, I think we're going to close this conference with many thanks to all the organizers and the speakers and contributors of this conference. And obviously, we're continuing with the breakout sessions after this. Otherwise, we can also still continue discussing this in the main channel as well. Okay, so thank you very much. And if there's any final comments, any final suggestions or feedback, I'm very happy to see it in the chat windows or in the Discord. Otherwise, we will stop it over here. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending until the last point of this conference. And we will now open the discussion channel. I think now guest is about to start a breakout room. So yeah, I think it's now there. So please join the breakout rooms. And we have only one breakout room this time, and then we will have a discussion continue also in this main channel.